Undead Unluck. We got a wild chapter this week. We finally get the Billy redemption arc. Something that we've all been waiting to see, and I think it was a pretty good one. Drop a comment in the comment section below if you truly believe that my boy Billy redeemed himself during this chapter and with these actions that are ongoing currently. However, got a woman trying to pull me out of here. I need to get this video out in a timely fashion, so it may not be as much editing as normal, but you know, rumor, drop it. Let's get into the topic. Two things I want to mention before we hop straight into it. First, I mentioned at the end of the last chapter review, I thought that Billy had a plan as to how he was going to get past this unbreakable barrier. Potentially, beforehand, he had hopped down, talked to our girl, Ishin, and stole her ability. However, I was on the right track, and we'll see during this video that my thoughts weren't too far off. Secondly, shout out my boy Billy. The redemption arc is feeling good right now. This boy came back with the Union giddy up on. He's got his hair slicked back, the Union clothes on, even pulls out that Union emblem during this chapter as well, and you know, it just felt good to see the Billy that we, personally know and love. Just like Tatiana, just like Fuko, we don't like long hair let down, Billy the Kid Billy. We just like Billy. That's our guy, and he's back right now. And as Billy's back, he confirms that he's gonna fight alongside the Union. He says that, yeah, let's get you two down to the Ark so that Fuko's able to ride it, and he goes up in this battle against Unruin. But we already know that Unruin's a pretty hard-boiled guy. It's not going to be as simple as just fighting him off. As they begin their bout, Unruin just begins to question Billy's motivations at the moment. He says that, dude, aren't you the guy who betrayed the Union? Aren't you the guy who literally created Under? And Billy doesn't really have amazing retorts for this. For the first one, he comes back with just a little jab. He says, dude, if you think that just because I betrayed the Union, you and I have the same motivations, you would be sadly mistaken. I'm not fighting alongside somebody brown noses up to God. And to the creating Under, as many men need to do, you just gotta own up to your actions. He said, I was a fool. And obviously he gives us his mind state, his true motivations as to why he created Under later. But he admits that I was a fool in doing this, that, he should have just fought alongside the people who were trying to complete the same goal as him. But following his rejection of Unruin's, proposal to fight alongside him, we know that we're gonna get into a little scrap. And this scrap was interesting. We start off rip. Once again, Unruin fighting just like Andy. He uses Uma blood to create these sort of duplicates of himself to fight off all the other negators who are around. And we see Andy throughout the series has done this too. He uses the blood scabs to create all of his clones, which he used to fight Billy actually. So, I feel like Billy may be a little well versed in this fight. But we obviously see that that's just not the case. Billy is kind of taking an onslaught of punches and slices from Unruin during this chapter, and we see some irreversible damage dealt to him. He gets an arm sliced off, and this is the type of wound which you may imagine, would be fatal come 10, 15, 20 minutes down the line. A lot of blood loss and, just a decrepit state you're put in whenever you have a full-on limb get lopped off. However, everybody's questioning Billy. Why don't you use your abilities? Why don't you actually regenerate using something like Undead? Why don't you fight back using an ability like Unstoppable or like Unmove? But Billy says, y'all folks are too kind. And then as Fuko is just asking Billy, what's your restriction? If you tell me right now you could use Unluck, you could try to use Untouchable. But Billy says, it won't work. Especially not you or Tatiana. And this is, hey, I've dropped videos on this before, we've talked about it in recent chapters. I've told y'all, it's this idea of trusting or believing in somebody. And as we literally get it out of bro's words this chapter, and I'm just glad to say that, hey, our thoughts, they made a little bit of sense. As they continue to egg him on, Billy finally just says, I've got to pull out the trump card. I got to pull out the black Amex. He says, Union Emblem. He says, we cannot afford to die right here. I came to lend a hand, and I cannot afford to die. He calls Top and Ishin, and this is an interesting little aside, I guess to say. Whenever he calls them, he says that I'm the one who let Ruin kill Fuko, so that he can copy their abilities. But also, if you look in the background in this panel, you see Uma move is breaking through the top, and I wonder if Jules is pulling up on them to tell them something, or if even maybe Jules was kind of working in conjunction with Billy as Billy came on the way to the Union, something maybe? I don't know. It's just a theory, a film theory. But now, via his provocation, we know that Billy has Unstoppable and the one we need, Unbreakable. But Billy isn't done just yet. He also pulls up that emblem and he calls Shikara as well, Unmove. And this is where he tells him, I killed Tatiana. Which obviously isn't true, considering he just saved Tatiana and he's just standing on top of her. And here is where Billy finally gives us his ability. Unfair. Unfair. He says, if my target views me as a threat, I can copy their ability. The fairness of each user having one ability is something that by having multiple abilities, I negate. On the day I betrayed you, I tried to make all of you view me as a threat, so that I could steal your abilities. And that's the reason I formed Under and betrayed the Union. Some of you shouldn't have to fight. Some of you are trying your best just to live. So I figured everyone could hate me, and I could fight all on my own. He says to Fuko that he couldn't steal her ability or her sense of duty, which are the most important keys to slaying God. He said he's believed in us beforehand. He said that he knew that Undead and Unluck were the two who were going to negate destiny. However, he really puts it into fashion right here. What he can do with his ability, why he betrayed the Union, and just everything we've been wondering about Billy. Yoshifumi, drop the salt, drop the hat. Hat's off to you, dog. You're the freaking GOAT. Keep it up, dog. Yoshifumi is eating this chapter because we finally got this consensus answer to all of Billy's questions. Why the kid had done what he did. Why he betrayed the Union. I believed it was pretty easy to assume that he was doing it to steal their abilities, but it's cool to see that he had this sort of blind sense of justice where he was trying to save them by, I guess to say, taking on their burdens, just like Andy said he's going to do, become the god of death if he needs to. That's what Billy was trying to do, become the strongest individual, house all of these perfect abilities, because he trusted Jules, and that's the funny thing. He knew that Jules did have a decent plan in place. He knew that she had gathered good negators to actually try to fight off against God. But he said that you guys all don't need to do this. Let me carry the burden of this entire fight, because he didn't believe folks like Tatiana, Fuko, needed to fight, but it doesn't matter. We're here. He grabs those abilities and he starts fending off against Unruin, and at the end of the chapter we see that he snatches part of Unruin's head off, and I'm very interested to see how this fight continues. If we can get Unruin unmoved for a second, he can open up that barrier. However, we still got Seal, the negator of everything, not negator, the Uma who just steals away any and everything possible. But still don't even know all Billy's abilities right now. He's got Unchanged, Undefinition, Unstoppable, Unbreakable, Unmoved. Now we know all of them. No, he could have one. But if his last one's unfair, then you never know. I don't know. This was a crazy chapter of Undead Unluck, though. I'm really excited to see what that entire situation with Top and Ishin is. With an Uma move behind them, that could either mean that they're working in conjunction, Jules and Billy, and Jules is playing some 6D chess at the moment. She's just absolutely going balls to the walls with everything she's getting done. Or she's pulling up to say something. Maybe they got the rebellion or the heart. Maybe we're not going to the next loop. I don't know. I don't think that's happening, but shit, just rambling. I appreciate y'all for stopping by. I told you I need to get this one out quicker, so I don't know. Crazy thoughts. Crazy chapter 119, Undead Unluck. I love you. Chainsaw Man later this week. Probably more Undead too. But hasta luego, mi amigos.